With it coming up to Christmas, I thought I would do a video on what you can maybe put together terrain-wise by using some of the packaging for things that you may receive in gifts. I've got a few examples here of the kind of things that you end up with and may just go straight in the bin, and it would be a shame to do that. The examples I've got here, so this is a bit of packaging that had some fruit in there, and I think straight away with a little bit of work, a little bit of detail and work with the bits box, you know, you've got something that would start off a power plant or something for the kind of sci-fi terrain, no problem at all. You also get this kind of packaging here, kind of more modern, recyclable type stuff, but still it's an interesting shape, interesting form to use, and with a bit of detailing could turn into something. The sort of packaging that you get as gift sets and things like that can offer up some interesting shapes, some sort of platform there with the addition of some railings or some legs or whatever. You could have the start of a piece of machinery. And this one here, which a lot of you may end up with, or something very similar, is a kind of plastic tray that comes with some biscuits, kind of a small packet of nice biscuits. And straight away, rather than putting that in the bin, it becomes an ideal item to use as a bit of sci-fi terrain. If you put that up against some 28mm style miniatures, it's a perfect size, and with just a little bit of work you can turn that into something, I think, that'll look quite good. It's got all the hallmarks of a really good industrial type structure. You've got the kind of repeat pattern, the strong lines, there's these kind of strengthening ribs down the vertical faces. It's got everything that I would want in starting a piece of sci-fi terrain. The only thing you have to worry about are the little markings that are moulded into the plastic. You know, there's a logo on each side that I'm going to need to cover up. But yeah, so I thought I would just make a video showing how to turn something that you may just throw into the bin on Boxing Day, but instead you could turn it into something that you could put on the gaming table. So the first thing I want to do is, you'll notice there's this little edge around there that's going to kind of get in the way. I want that to be flat to the bottom, so I'm just going to trim that off. Scissors should do the trick, and I can be quite rough with this. It doesn't have to be perfect because I am going to glue it down to a new base like that, just to kind of get a flat edge on the bottom of it. So what I've just done there is cut out a number of these little foam card or foam board rectangles, slightly tapered because the walls aren't perfectly straight. But the reason I'm doing that is that these thin plastic packaging or container things, they're very weak. You know, you can kind of squeeze the shape out of them. It wouldn't take much to kind of ruin that. So I'm just going to glue in these shapes into these recesses just to kind of give it a bit more strength to stop it getting squashed. And I'm just going to use plain white glue for this. Don't want to try the hot glue because it could warp the plastic, and it'll look quite rough for now while you can still see into it, but once this is primed and painted, this will all be hidden. Okay, that's all dried up, and I've made just a simple base using some thick plastic card or styrene sheet. Pretty thick, sturdy stuff. You could use card or whatever you have to hand. So that'll give me something to glue this down onto. But before I do that, I still want access in here, because on the ends I pointed out these company logos on here that are embossed into the plastic. I want to cover those up, and I've dug out a couple of doors from the bits box, got a pair of them, and I think with some trimming back I can use those on either end just to help hide that logo. And I'm going to use the clamp to hold it in there. I don't want this to set too quickly because I want some time to adjust it if I need to. So I've put quite a bit of super glue on there. The plan is to use the clamps to force the part there to stick on better to the kind of slightly curved surface. So it looks a bit elaborate, but it just gives me something to squeeze that plastic part into position with, and hopefully hold it. If it's not perfect, it doesn't really matter too much. Just want it to cover up that company logo. So I'll do one for the other side. Okay, that works quite well. Kind of hides most of it. Anything else that's like popping out from the edge I can deal with later with some weathering. Now we can just glue that down to the base. Maybe just hold that down to get a nice connection. Okay, and for those little symbols on the top, I've just looked out some more bits from the bits box, just random kind of little plastic strip sized pieces that can fit on the top and roughly hide them. Doesn't have to be exact, but just need 4. I can leave the other 2 uncovered. I think it'll look quite good that way. I want to try and get them reasonably well positioned. For any gaps that appear, you can always use the bicarbonate of soda and super glue method that I've used in many of the other builds I've done. I have to get some more details onto this. Some more small pieces that I'm going to stick along here. I'd like to get them lined up in some way. So I think I'll mark up a position and then try and duplicate that. So a nice blob of super glue is all that is needed. And I find that you can often pick up these smaller plastic pieces or the resin pieces with a sharp knife. What I'm doing right now is just trying to add lots of little details to the piece. You don't have to go overboard with it, but with every bit of detail you add, it just improves it, makes it more interesting. You don't have to do any of this, you could just use the piece of packaging as is and spray it up, but this does help bring it to the next level. So that 6th one is meant to be a bit of a fuel cap or something like that, so maybe I could just add this little oil tank down there, and then of course always a fan or a grill somewhere. They always look good. And I've got one of these GW parts. I think it's always worth adding in a Games Workshop part, a 40k part from a kit. It just kind of helps ground the item in the universe that you're building these things for. This nice little control panel thing. A lot of these parts I just get from eBay as they come in kind of bulk lots or selections of different bits from other people's leftovers from kits they've been building or whatever. It can be a good way of picking up some interesting bits and pieces to use. Okay, so I've just been making this little platform piece that I'm intending on sticking on the top of the machine or whatever this is. I had found this bit of leftover ladder from a previous build, and it kind of happens to be a nice height for making something with a bit of access to get up on the top there. Didn't really need it, it's fine as it is, but I thought just to kind of carry the build on a little bit, I'll add something higher up. And it'll also act as a higher vantage point for miniatures if you were to use it in a game. So I just need to come up with a way of joining that on there, and I need to add a platform somewhere to stand on top of this, just to take a 28mm miniature and maybe add a handrail. I'm just going to cut up some styrene extruded strips here. It's kind of the I-beam looking stuff. I've also got some of that checker plate, styrene sheet, plasticard stuff. Nice industrial pattern. Looking to make something that you could stand on. Just making some markings to help me glue these into place in a kind of even manner. Again, it doesn't have to be exact. It's meant to be ramshackle. It's meant to look like the scavengers have welded stuff together just roughly to serve a purpose. It's got to be functional, and that's all. There we go. Kind of interesting looking bit there. Adds a little bit of height, and it will help get that platform higher up. And we've got plenty of room to stand someone. Yeah, that'll work. Added some verticals to start forming some kind of makeshift barrier. Some more textured plasticard, just for a different type of surface. I'm always just trying to make something that doesn't look like anything else, to help give them this bespoke, unique appearance. It kind of suggests that they've been cobbled together from multiple sources. That suits the whole Ash Wastes scavenger look. Gives it character and visual interest. I can decide which way around I want to do that. But we give a miniature cover from one direction and they'd be exposed from another, which maybe makes it more interesting or fair to do it that way. Okay, so that's the kind of platform barrier thing done. Now the temptation for me is to keep these all separate and paint them separate, but I want this build to be simple and straightforward, especially for this video. So I'm just going to stick it on. The reason being it's going to be tricky to get under there with paint later on, but I'm just going to go ahead and stick it in place. It may well be slightly precarious up in here, but not too fussed. And then the final piece to go on is going to be this ladder. Okay, so all I've done there is just add some base material, which in this case is my normal fine sand mixed with some small stones. That's stuck down with white glue. So that's the modelling done. Everything's now ready to get primed, and I'll do that next. Okay, that's the terrain piece given a base coat or priming layer. Really makes such a difference once you add that. Brings it all together, makes it look good. Never seems to fail actually, regardless of what you stick together. The grey primer stage just seems to turn it into something that you'd want to use. So I think I'll leave it there for this video. Kind of general build or construction stage is now done. The next video will be painting this thing and trying to make it look either rusty or worn, and come up with a colour scheme for that. But in the meantime, if you do have some Christmas biscuits, maybe rather than throwing out the packet, have a quick check of it and see if it might be of use in building a little bit of scatter terrain, because it's a lot of fun to do, and it's a lot better than just chucking it straight in the bin. Maybe a little fun task to do on a Boxing Day or whatever. But in any case, thanks very much for watching the video.